Hello student, welcome you to Mohan's classes. Today we are going to learn about the Reformation and the Enlightenment. This is the chapter 7 of your social study and this is the part 5th of this chapter. Already we have learned 4 parts and this is the 5th part or we can say the last part of this chapter. So in this lesson or in this class we are going to learn about the enlightenment. The enlightenment because so far in the part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4 we learn about the reformation. But today we are going to learn about the enlightenment. Without wasting much time, let us begin our class, the enlightenment. The 18th century was the age when people began thinking that reason, science, and enterprise could help them progress in life and take them from ignorance to knowledge. It is said that during 18th century, the people began to think that reason, science, and enterprise will help them to progress them in their life and it will take them from the ignorance, that means unknown to known or ignorance to knowledge, because we know that till 18th century people were what believing in the they were having the blind belief, and as they were what depending on the religion and the sex of religion, so many times they were being cheated. But after this 18th century or during this 18th century, what happened, people began thinking that what reason, science, and enterprise only help them to progress in their life, and it will help them to take from ignorance to knowledge. But this was only possible if science was not forced to bow before the power of authority. So how it is possible? It will be possible if science was not forced to bow before any power or authority. That means science should not be bow or surrender before any power or authority. People could decide their action on the basis of reason only if the social system was not dominated and controlled by a central authority. So, in this sentence, it is said that people could decide their action. How? It is on the basis of reason. And it will be possible if the social system was not dominated and controlled by a central authority. That means if the social system will not dominated by any not dominated and controlled by any central authority, then only people could decide their action on the basis of their reason. These ideas spread across Europe during what is called the Enlightenment. Understood? These ideas spread Europe during what? And that is called what? The Enlightenment. This is called the what? The Enlightenment. Next, they were so powerful that they inspired the American and French Revolution. Understood? Who? These people of this Enlightenment, they were so powerful that they inspired the American and French Revolution. They influence human society even today in modern age. That means these people of enlightenment, they also influence human society even in the modern age. But this idea did not face opposition from some people and were criticized. What happened? This idea did face opposition from some people. That means some people opposed this idea and they also criticized. Which idea? This enlightenment. We shall also look at some of the criticism of the enlightenment. That means in this class we are also going to see or learn about some of the criticism of the enlightenment. Next paragraph. The French philosophers played an important role in developing ideas of the enlightenment. Understood? French philosophers, they played an important role for what? For developing the ideas of enlightenment. The most prominent among them were first one, Voltaire, born in 1694, died in 1778, and Diderot. Diderot. He was born in 1713 and died in 1784. Equally important were the Scottish philosopher David Hume, born in 1711 and died in 1776, and Adam Smith, Adam Smith, born in 1723 and died in 1790, who considered the father of economic. Who? Adam Smith is considered to be father of economic. So what happened? These are the philosophers who play important role in the idea of enlightenment. Who were there? First one is Voltaire, second Diderot, third David Hume, and Adam Smith. These are the four philosophers who played important role in developing the idea of enlightenment. And Adam Smith is also what known as father of economics. In Germany, the dominant enlightenment philosopher was Immanuel Kant. Understood? In Germany, the dominant or prominent philosopher, who was that? Immanuel Kant. He was born in 1724 and died in 1804. Next, the chief vehicle for spreading the Enlightenment idea at the time was the Encyclopedia, in the French language, edited by Diderot, which presented the new diverse discoveries of thoughts in simple languages. So, it is said that the chief vehicle for spreading the idea of enlightenment. What is vehicle? That means we know we can say bus, truck, or any kinds of vehicle. So, what are the chief vehicle? The chief vehicle for spreading the idea of enlightenment was encyclopedia. What is that? Encyclopedia. And this encyclopedia was edited or written in the what? French language. It is written in French language by whom? By Diderot. By Diderot. And which present the new discoveries and thoughts in simple language. That means in this encyclopedia, the new discoveries and thoughts were presented or written in simple language. We shall now examine the main ideas of the Enlightenment. Now we are going to look or learn or discuss about the main ideas of the Enlightenment. First one, the concept of progress. The concept of progress. The Enlightenment thinkers believe that world progress with the passage of time. The thinkers of the Enlightenment, they says that, or they believe that, how the world progress? The world progress with the passage of time or in the period of time. The present is better than the past, and human will use science, reason, and enterprise to ensure greater progress in the future. So according to the thinkers of enlightenment, it is said that present is better than past. Understood? The present is better than past, and human will use science, reason, and enterprise to ensure greater progress in future. That means to better progress in future, human will use what? Science, reason, and enterprises. Understood? Present is better than past, and human will use what? Reason, science, and enterprise for the better future or greater progress in future. By progress, they mean that humans would use science and technology to exercise greater control over nature. So, what is the meaning of progress here? That progress means that human will use what? Science and technology to control or to exercise the nature. Immanuel Kant said the meaning of progress was not that human will be more content and happy, because contentedness and happiness are possible in any era in history. So, according to Immanuel Kant, the great philosopher, he says that progress was not that human will be more contented and happy. Understood? According to him, progress doesn't mean that human will become more contented and happy, because contentedness and happiness are possible in any era in history. That means if we talk about content and happiness, it okay, these are possible in any era of history. He said the true parameter of progress was growth in human freedom and multiplicity of choices. But according to the concept, or according to Immanuel Kant, what is the what is meant by progress? According to him, progress means what? Growth in human freedom and multiplicity of choices. Understood? What is progress according to Immanuel Kant? That means growth in human freedom and multiplicity of choices. The modern age is more advanced because humans enjoy more freedom than ever before, and because they have more lifestyle choices. So he says, who? Immanuel Kant, he says that modern age is more advanced. Why? Because human beings are having what? More freedom before or ever before, and because they have more lifestyle choices. So, in this paragraph, we learn that the concept of progress. What is the concept of progress? According to the thinkers of Enlightenment, they believe that world progress with the time. That means, according to time, the world progress, and they say that the present is better than past, and in future, by using science, reason, and enterprise, human being can progress more. Next, the mean of progress for human being, what? That means using of science and technology and to control over the nature. But Immanuel Kant says that the progress doesn't mean that human will be more content and more happy, because content and happiness can be find out any era of history. But according to him, according to Immanuel Kant, progress was what? The growth in human freedom and multiplicity choices. And he says that, or he said that the modern age is more advanced because human beings are enjoying more freedom ever before, and they have more choices for the lifestyle. Second, the age of reason. The Enlightenment thinkers believe that human decisions were gradually being based on rational thought and rather than superstition, religion, and a religion or the direction of the central authority. So, here it is says that the age of reason. The Enlightenment thinkers, they believe that human decisions were gradually being based on rational thought. Understood? According to the Enlightenment thinkers, the decisions of humans are how it is based on rational thought rather than superstition. That means nowadays people are not believing in superstition, rather what happened? They are believing what? Rational thought. And they are also not believing in religious or direction of the central authority, who? Human being, but their decisions were now what happened? Gradually being based on rational thought. They felt reason helps human to ask questions and investigate any authority, whether an individual or an institution. So according to the Enlightenment thinkers, they says that, or they felt that reason helps human to ask question, because until unless we have the reason we can't ask the question. That's why they says that reason helps humans to ask question and to investigate any authority. Understood? And this reason also what? Helps to investigate any authority, whether they are individual or it is an institution. It also helps humans to live a principled and comfortable life. That means this reason also helps human beings to live a principled and comfortable life. It is human intelligence that reveals the truth path. That means how the truth was revealed through the intelligence of human being, the truth path was released. That is why the driving force for the Enlightenment was to awaken and strengthen people's truth in power of reason. So, because of that reason, the driving force of the Enlightenment was what? To awaken and strengthen the people's trust in the power of reason. As the contemporary French thinker Baron Holbach observed, what we must we must instill courage in humans, make them trust their own intelligence, and awaken their thirst for the truth so that they can learn to take decisions on the basis of their experience and not be influenced by the false or misleading notions of others. It is said that there was a contemporary French thinker, or that contemporary French thinker, his name is what? Baron Holbach. He observed that. What he observed? He says that we must instill courage in humans. That means we have to instill courage in human being, and we have to make them trust of their own intelligence, or we have to make the people or courage make them trust. That means we have to make them that they should trust in their own intelligence and awaken their thirst for the truth so that they can learn to take decision on the basis of their experience. That means we have to make them awake, what, for the thirst for the truth. Then only they can learn to take decision on the basis of their experience, and they will not be influenced by the any false or misleading notions of others. That means they will not be misled or misguided. In this paragraph we learn that the age of reason, that means the enlightenment thinkers believe that human decisions were gradually based on what, rational thinking, rather than what, superstitions and the superstition, religion, and the direction of the central authority. The enlightenment thinkers, they felt that reason helps human to ask questions and to investigate any authority, whether they are individual or an institution. And this it also helps, which helps reason also helps humans to live in a principled and comfortable life. Understood? Reason also helps human to live in a principled and comfortable life. Next, it is human intelligence that reveals the truth path. Understood? What? Human intelligence reveals the true path. And because of that reason, driving force of the Enlightenment was to awaken and strengthen people's trust in the power of reason. Next, contemporary thinker or philosopher Baron Holbach, he observed that we need to instill courage in human, and we have to make them trust their own intelligence, and we have to awaken their thirst for the truth so that they can learn that, or they will learn to take decision on the basis of their experience and not by any false leading of others or misleading of others. Next is science. The Enlightenment thinkers saw scientific knowledge as true knowledge. Enlightenment thinkers, they saw that scientific knowledge as a true knowledge. By science, they meant the process of driving conclusions on the basis of experiment, observations, and rational thought, and collecting sufficient evidence to back the conclusion. So, Enlightenment thinkers, they saw that scientific knowledge as a true knowledge. And by science, they meant who? The Enlightenment thinkers, they mean that the process of driving conclusion on the basis of experiment, observation, and rational thought, and collecting sufficient evidence to back the conclusion. That means they said that through the science, we can or people can get the conclusion. How? Through experiment, through observation, through rational thought, and by collecting sufficient evidence, we can get the conclusion. Understood? So, what is the meaning of science? That means through science, we can get the proper conclusion. How? Because through experiment, through observation, through rational thought, and by collecting sufficient evidence, we can get the conclusion. Next, they did not accept divine or spiritual revelation. Who? These enlightenment thinkers, they did not accept what? This divine or spiritual revelation. They believed the method of science was powerful enough to understand everything in the world. So these enlightenment thinkers, they believed that the method of science was powerful to understand everything in the world. Understood? The enlightenment thinkers, they says that the method of science was powerful enough to understand everything in the world. It did not require any religious text or the advice of so-called expert, but only experiment, observation, and reason. So, according to the Enlightenment thinker, they says that we don't require any religious text or any advice to understand the world. But what we want experiment, observation, and reason. In ancient time and during the Middle Ages, knowledge was seen as a systematically classified things. If we talk about the ancient times or during the Middle Ages, knowledge was seen as a systematical classifying things. The Enlightenment scientists said knowledge was not making list based on certain characteristic of things. But when you talk about the Enlightenment scientists, they said that knowledge was not making list based on certain characteristic of things. They gave greater importance on the questions like why and how things were on the way they were. This enlightenment thinker, they given greater importance to what? To the question like why and how. That means why and how things were the way they were. They believed knowledge would help in developing new technologies that would make life more comfortable. These enlightenment thinkers, they believe that knowledge would help in developing new technologies and that will make their life more comfortable. So, in this science or in this paragraph, what you learn, that means the enlightenment thinkers, they so that scientific knowledge is a true knowledge, and they meant that through the process of science they can come to conclusion based on experiment, based on observation, rational thought, and by collecting sufficient materials. And they did not accept that any divine or spiritual revelation. They believed that the method of science was so powerful to understand the world. And to understand the world, we did not want any religious text, any advice, or any expert. But what we need experiment, observation, and reason. And it is said that during these ancient times, uh, in ancient time and during the Middle Ages, knowledge was seen as a systematically classified things. But the Enlightenment scientists said that knowledge was not making list based on the certain characteristic of things. But what happened? They gave greater importance on what question why and how. Why and how things were the way they were. And they believe that the enlightenment thinkers, they believe that knowledge would help them in developing a new technologies and that would make life more comfortable. Next is science versus religion. Science versus religion. The supporters of Enlightenment felt that religion enslaved humans and made them superstitious and scared. That means those who are supporting Enlightenment, they believe that or they felt that religion make the enslaved human being. What is enslaved? Make them slave. That means religion make slave to human being and made them superstitious and scared. This religion what happened? Scared the people or forced them to believe in the superstition or the blind belief. Understood? The supporter or the supporter of the Enlightenment, they said that religion has enslaved human being and made them superstitious and scared or afraid. They said religion led to bloodshed and wars. And according to the supporters or the thinker of the Enlightenment, they said that religion led them what? Bloodshed and wars. That means because of the religion, there will many what? Life gone and there will many war took place. They were mainly opposed to the monopoly of the Catholic Church. Who? These Enlightenment thinkers, they mostly or mainly opposed to whom? The monopoly of the Catholic Church. Earlier we have learned about that. They said this authority of the church was what made humans believe in the miracle stories and are told by priests and not their own reasoning power. So, these Enlightenment thinkers, they said that this Catholic Church said, oh, sorry, this authority of the church, that means this Catholic Church authority was what made human beliefs in the miraculous stories told by priest. That means through the priest of this Catholic Church, many miraculous stories were told by the priest and not in their own reasoning power or whatever is being told in Catholic Church, it was not through the reasoning power of the priest, rather what? Miraculous story told by the priest. It made people the puppets of the priest. And through this miraculous story, when the people listen or heard, it make people what? Puppets. Most Enlightenment thinkers were not atheists. That means most of the Enlightenment thinker, they were not atheists. What is atheist? That means those who are against God. Their purpose was to find an independent and scientific basis for God. But what was the reason of this Enlightenment thinkers? That means to find out an independent and scientific basis for God. They feared that atheism would make people immoral and unethical. Understood? Who? These Enlightenment thinkers, they feared that atheism would make what? People immoral and unethical. They said the knowledge of the world gained through science is evidence of greatness of God, the Creator. The Enlightenment thinker, they said that the knowledge of the world gained through science is what? Evidence of the greatness of God, the Creator. That means the knowledge which we gained from the science or which we got from the science, that is the what? Greatness of God and the Creator. But they did not want their God and religion to be taken over by priests or other system of institution. So this Enlightenment thinker, they did not want their God and religion to be taken by or to taken over by any priest or any system of the institution. So science versus religion. So in this paragraph we learn that the supporters of Enlightenment, they says that or they said religion has enslaved human being and made them superstitious and scared. The Enlightenment thinker said that religious led to bloodshed and wars. They were mainly opposing the Catholic Church. They said this authority of Catholic Church was what made humans believe in miraculous stories told by the priest and not in the reasoning power. And it made people the puppets of priest. The most of the Enlightenment thinkers were not atheists, that means they were not against a God, but their purpose was to find out what independent and scientific basis for God. They feared that through the atheism, people should not become immoral or unethical. They said that whatever the knowledge we gain through the knowledge, science in the world is the greatness of God and the Creator. But they did not want that their God and religion to be taken over by the priest or any system of government. Next is freedom. The supporters of enlightenment had abiding faith in individual freedom. That means those who were supporting the enlightenment, they were abiding the faith of what? In individual freedom. They said no law should be passed without the people consent. That means without the people knowledge, no law should be passed. That's why they were opposed to all kinds of slavery, undemocratic system and anarchy. Understood? So the supporters of the enlightenment, they had abiding faith in what? Individual freedom, and they said that no law should what? Passed without the understanding of human being or without the knowledge of human being. That was the reason what? They were opposed to all kinds of slavery, undemocratic system and monarchy or anarchy system. However, despite their beliefs, mainly Enlightenment thinkers became close friends and advisors of autocratic rulers. So, despite of all this belief, what happened? Many Enlightenment thinkers they become close friend of whom? Advisor of the autocratic rulers. These rulers were influenced by their thinking and did attempt to reform their kingdom. So these rulers were influenced by these enlightenment thinkers and they attempt to reform their or remake their kingdom. Understood? So what? Freedom. That means the supporter of the enlightenment they were having they had the abiding faith in individual freedom. They said that no law should be passed without the knowledge of human being. That was the reason they were opposed by all kinds of slavery, undemocratic system and monarchy system. So though they were opposing all these things, even then what happened? There were many rulers or autocratic rulers. They were influenced by these enlightenment thinkers, and because of that reason, what happened? These rulers were influenced by the thinkers and did attempt to reform their kingdom. Next is criticism of the Enlightenment. Criticism of the Enlightenment. When the Enlightenment movement was at its peak, industrialization in Europe was leading to the exploitation of nature, increased pollution, and the exploitation of the laboring classes. That means when Enlightenment movement was in its peak or top level, industrialization in Europe was leading to what? Exploitation of nature and increasing of pollution was taking place and what? Exploitation of laboring classes. The political upheavals disrupted traditional lifestyle. Because of the what happened? Political misleading, the traditional lifestyle of people was disrupted. It was during this period that people came to know more about the tribal societies of America, Australia, and India that lived a simple communal life in tune with nature. What happened? During this period, people come to know about the tribal societies of America, Australia, and India. And these tribal people, they were living a simple communal life with the nature. Understood? So what happened? This enlightenment movement, when the enlightenment movement was in its peak, the industrial development or industry was exploiting the nature in Europe. and pollution also what increasing, and labor classes were also being exploited in the European country. And because of this misleading of politics, the traditional lifestyle of people was disrupted. And during this time, people come to know about the tribal societies of America, India, America, Australia, and India, and those people living a simple and communal life with the nature. The people who were distressed by the impact of industrialization began criticizing the modern age. That means the people, those who were distressed by the impact of the industrialization, they criticize about the modern age. They raised their voice against science and reason. Who? These people, they raised their voice against science and reason. Prominent among them were romantic philosopher Rousseau, and poet Lord Byron, and artist. So, who was the prominent among them? His name was what? Rousseau, poet Lord Byron, and artist. In place of the modern industrial age, they lauded with idyllic rural life that would be in consonance with the nature, not destroy it. So they says that in place of the modern industrial age, it is better to have you what? A normal or simple life which is connected with the nature, or having relation with the nature. They wanted to preserve this first disappearing folk arts and culture. These philosophers, they wanted to control or preserve what? This disappearing what? Folk arts and culture. While the Enlightenment thinkers sang the praise of the power of science to understand the world, the Romantics drew attention to things that could be understood only through emotion and feelings. Enlightenment thinkers, they were singing and they were praising for what? For the power of the science and to understand the world. But during that time, what happened? This romantic thinker, they pay their attention that to understand the world, that means it is through the what? Emotion and feelings. They focused on culture and literature of India, China, Japan as alternatives to the Enlightenment culture and began to study this society. So this romantic thinker, they focused on what? Culture and literature of which country? India, China, Japan, understood. And in alternatives to the Enlightenment culture, they began to study these societies. They translated literary works of Sanskrit poets like Kalidas into European language. Who? This romantic thinker, they translated literary work of Sanskrit poets who? Kalidas. Next, the Romantics were highly impressed by Kalidas' play Shakuntalam. The Romantic thinker, they were highly impressed by what? The play of Kalidas called what? Shakuntalam. Last paragraph. Romantic artists abandon the realism of Renaissance period, creating indistinct and tempestuous images instead of realistic drawing. Even there were what? Romantic artists. They were what happened? Abandon the realism of Renaissance period, and they created what? Indistinct and tempestuous images instead of what? Realistic drawing. They reflect emotion like fear and wonder through their paintings. That means these romantic artists, through their painted, okay, they reflected what? Emotion like fear and wonder in their paints. So this is what about the period of enlightenment, and I hope you understood. And here we bind the chapter 7.